Hey guys, so just recently there was a professor at Trinity College in Connecticut that came out. His name is Johnny Eric Williams. He came out saying that that recent white congressman that got shot and the other victims that got shot that were white should have been left to bleed out and die, and that they pretty much like deserve it because we live in a white supremacy society, and the only way to change it is if things like this happen. And if we start he wasn't calling people necessarily go out and start killing white people, but he was pretty much like, if you see them in a burning building, if you see them bleeding out on the street, blah blah blah, let them bleed out and die. And this is a college professor, right? And so far they haven't released a statement. I don't think he's received any punishment yet, and he probably won't, because, people like to talk about white privilege and whatever, but there's such things as like black privilege too. That guy can literally say whatever the fuck he wants, and he probably won't suffer any consequences, right? Like, that's what people can say. And because a lot of people nowadays believe that you can't be racist towards white people, it eggs them on even further. And this guy is a fucking sociology professor. Obviously he wasn't a mathematician professor. Because anybody who's teaching sociology is typically a lunatic. And not all sociology is bad, right? There are some parts of it that's good and useful. But there are some aspects of it, like this, that are just destructive and divisive in nature. And, when we keep employing people like this, it's like, this is why we have Antifa and crazy students, college students, right? It's people like this that are teaching them. Like, recently there was Eric Clanton, that guy who hit another student over the head with the bike lock. Like, these are teachers, these are professors, and these are the people you're employing. And, typically colleges, universities are very left-wing oriented, so they're going to be hiring from this pot, a pool of people all the time. And obviously not all their teachers are crazy like this teaching the same shit, but it's amazing how they won't hire somebody who's just pretty much right wing on issues, on like fiscal issues and whatever, because they're like, oh, you're in the right wing, blah blah. But they'll denounce people. It's like, oh, he's supporting Nazism, but they'll pretty much have communists teaching for them, right? And it's kind of like lets you know that universities, the educational system, has been taken over by Marxists for the past like 20 years. People weren't always like this, and this is just their agenda, essentially, like class division. This is, they make one group into the oppressor, into having everything, and the reason they have everything is because you stole it from them, and then they rile up people from another group. And there are actual things that happen in the States that, they did oppress black people, they did. So this is extra fuel for them from stuff from the past, and that's why a lot of the stuff, they're bringing up examples of whenever they're like, oh, look at these white people. It's like 30, 40 years old, it's like literally these lynchings. It's like a picture that's 70 years old or something. Because, it's generally not happening as much anymore, but they need to drive up emotion somehow in people to get them angry to, be like this professor, so fucking callous. And it's like, if white people were that bad, there would be way more deaths going on. And most death that happens within races and communities happens among each other. Like, they kill each other. Most of the black people who have died have been at the hands of other black people. Most of the white people who have died has been at the hands of other white people. So, like, this guy is just a fucking lunatic, and he's gonna most likely keep teaching, because they're not really gonna do anything about it. And I do support his freedom of speech to say despicable things like this, but I just wish there weren't such double standards where, if a white guy said this about black people, it would be national fucking news, international news, like just crazy shit, right? But it isn't, and this is gonna be like swept under the rug like anything, because the media is essentially very left wing. So why are they gonna come out and expose things that make them look badly, right? Like, look at that Evergreen thing that happened recently. Like, they were trying to get white people kicked off of campus for a day, and then if you stayed on campus, you were like a racist, apparently. And now that professor, he can't even go back to teach because it's like unsafe. And the teachers aren't doing anything. They're just kowtowing. They're just, you know, following all the demands. And like, it's crazy. It's like you're creating monsters, and these people, like, fighting. Like, this is what happens in socialist countries and like communist regimes. Like, this is what happened in the Soviet Union, where they're like, oh, all the farmers took all your shit, and this is the reason they're rich, because they're stealing from you. So now you got to go and kill them. You know, they got rid of all these farmers. Now everybody's starved because nobody knows how to farm properly, and then there's mass famine. So, you know, this is just the left-wing agenda. They're like, oh, tax the rich massively, make them pay their fair share. It's like, they're already paying for the majority of the shit in your country, right? There are the people on the very, very top that do get massive tax breaks, so then those people are screwing you over too. But the people at the very top and the people at the bottom are both just essentially takers, and then there's a big portion of people who are making a lot of money that are paying a lot of the taxes. So it's like, you know, in the middle class as well. So it's like, this rhetoric needs to just subside. It needs to stop, and we need to stop like employing these people. And, you know, hopefully anybody that sponsors these universities pull some of their sponsorship, because, you know, like, do you really want to put your kids in schools that teach this type of divisiveness? Like, I understand you can't be racist towards white people, but like in like the common mindset of today's leftists, but you can, and it's not helpful, productive, right? We're going backwards. There was, you know, good change for a while, but then, you know, the past 10, 20 years, our educational systems have definitely been infiltrated. So, you know, hopefully there is more spotlight coming to this, and more people are learning about this. So this is good. You know, change will come, but not until we get rid of these types of fucking crazy lunatics teaching our kids. But if you like my content, subscribe, and have a great day.